Imagine for a second that you're at the hospital and the doctor tells you that after the surgery you will only have 3 or 4 months to live. Hi, my name is Ricardo. I'm an accelerator coach and I help successful people to live in a bigger, fuller, and more expanded way. And today I'm going to introduce you a person that had inspired with her history thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people. When I met her the first time, I was on an event in Silicon Valley, and it was an event for another person, and he was talking about her next guest speaker. And when he started describing her, I saw all the people around me saying like, "Wow, he's gonna bring here Mary Morrissey. This is amazing." And I was like, "Okay, I don't know who's her, but right now I want to meet her." And at the moment that she started talking, in the moment that she arrived in stage and she started talking and she started sharing her story and she started giving a lot of information, really good information. It was like, wow, I want her to be my mentor. I want to get trained by her. And after a year, more or less, I was with her, with another 650 people in Los Angeles, and it was something amazing. There was people from all around the world. And I'm gonna tell you a little bit more about Mary before I introduce her here in the screen. She's a speaker, executive coach, and bestseller author for 2 books, No Less Than Greater and Building Your Field of Dreams. She had been a consultant for over 3 decades. Mary has spoken 3 times at the United Nations, facilitated 3 different week-long meetings with His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and met with Nelson Mandela in South Africa to address the most significant issues of our world. Mary has a degree in counseling psychology and a honorary doctorate in human letters. Among all her achievements and degrees in her higher learnings, Mary favorites her 2 black belts, one in success and one in failure. And the most amazing thing is that she is my mentor. Hi, Marie. How are you?
I'm great, and I'm very happy to be here with you, Ricardo. Very happy. And to be with your listeners, the people you have a chance to touch, and I'm just grateful.
Thank you very much. Thank you for giving us this time. I know, well, this have to be a web event, via a webinar, but I know that the distance doesn't matter. We can have this really good conversation.
I know, isn't it great?
Yeah, this is amazing. And tell us a little bit about you, Mary. Tell us a little bit about what are you doing right now. I know you are transforming lives of a lot of people. And now that I teach your system and I represent you here in Mexico, I see how lives of people changes. But tell us a little bit more about it.
Tell you about what I'm doing right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, today I'm on an amazing interview with my friend Ricardo, helping take this message to the people that you have the opportunity to touch and impact. And I'm very, very grateful to call you friend and colleague, and to see the work that you have taken, the work that I spent 40 years developing and growing and testing and developing into a system that is reliable, repeatable, measurable, and produces results in lives. And Ricardo, you took that information, you put that to work in your own life, and now you're doing that with hundreds and hundreds of people yourself. So I'm privileged to be here today to support your work and to encourage people who hear what's going on here, that if any of this is of interest to you, you want to not walk but run towards the programs that Ricardo is doing and get yourself at least in the beginning part or the further part of living a life that you love living. That's been the work that I dedicate my life to, and over many years I've had the privilege, as you say, of helping tens of thousands, ultimately hundreds of thousands of people in large venues transform their lives and not be stuck by circumstances or situations. So that's what I'm doing.
And you say something really interesting here about not being stopped for circumstances and situations and your story. Because I listen a lot of people, and I'm sure you have listened more people about it, but telling I can do that because of this. I can do this because of this. And you had built a multimillionaire company. You had changed hundreds of thousands of people's lives, but it was not like that at the beginning.
No. In fact, if we, for a moment, if we think about every person who's achieved extraordinary success, all the things we think of as extraordinary, they were not that when they started.
Hmm.
They had things to overcome. They had problems. They had difficulties. They had obstacles to overcome. And the power of what you're bringing people, Ricardo, and what we're going to talk about today is discovering that there's a part in every single one of us that is far greater than we know, is far more than we've ever thought, and much more powerful than we have any idea of. But there's really basically two ways to live life, and the ordinary human lives a life that is bound by conditions, controlled by conditions. And there's another way to do life that basically 3% of people on our planet discover. And that's what we would call a vision-driven life, where you're coming from a vision instead of from the circumstances. And there is a system by which you liberate that power that's in you to work with it in such a way that the circumstances of your life change according to the vision you're holding. So let me tell you, you said I was none of that when I started, so let me just tell a little bit about my personal story. Is that okay?
Yeah, please share it with
Okay.
us.
All right. So first of all, I want to say to you who are listening or watching this interview, congratulations on investing some of your time here today with Ricardo and with me. You're making a wise investment in this portion of your day. You were given 24 hours if you live the entire day. So was I. The people that are most successful on the planet don't have any more time than you. They might have a bit more awareness, but they don't have more time. Everybody has exactly the same amount of time in a day, 24 hours, and only a handful of people are spending it growing their awareness. Something is going on with you that you would choose to be listening to this interview and thinking about your own life. So congratulations for that. I grew up in Portland, Oregon, which is on the west coast of the United States of America. Oregon is just on the north side of California. Portland, Oregon is the largest city in that state. It's on a river that goes right into the Pacific Ocean. I grew up in the 50s and the 60s, and I had a high school experience like most young girls dream about. I was and in Mexico, I'm sure you have the same thing in high school where there's kids who are more popular and kids who aren't, and I was one of those popular girls. I was a class vice president. I had the lead in the junior play. I was a homecoming princess. And at the end of my junior year in high school, which is year 3 of the 4 years, my high school boyfriend had gone off to college, came home on spring break. At the end of my junior year in high school, I got pregnant. My high school boyfriend had come home, as I said. 6 weeks later, I tell my mom and dad I'm now pregnant. My mother wept for me as if I had died. In her mind, all her dreams for me were dying. We had a very hasty, quick 10-person wedding, and I was completing the last month of my junior year in high school when the principal of the high school called me to his office, Mr. Erickson, and he sat me down and he said, "Are these rumors I'm hearing about you true?" And I mean, I'm 17. I'm a kid. And I said, well, if the rumors are that I'm pregnant and married in that order, then those rumors are true. And he put his head in his hands and he said, "Oh, Mary, you have great academics and you have earned terrific honors here in this school, but you will not be allowed to return here for your senior year. It would be completely inappropriate for a pregnant girl to get mixed in with the normal girls. But we do have a place for people like you. It's a high school not held during daylight hours. It's after dark. And it's where the pregnant girls and the delinquent boys go to high school. And you can complete your senior year there." So the next fall, I drove my car across a bridge in Portland to the other side of the river, to the other side of town, actually to a part of Portland I hadn't been allowed to drive in after dark prior to this time. And I got out of my car and I walked up to what was Washington High School as it was during the day. The sign actually became Washington Evening High School at night. And I remember walking up the steps and thinking, all right, every girl here is either pregnant or has a baby, and every guy is some kind of delinquent. This is my new student body. And so I went to that high school. My first son was born in December of 1966. And then I graduated from Washington Evening High School in May of 1967. And in July of 1967, so my son is now 7 months old, I found myself in an intensive care ward in a Portland hospital, having been diagnosed with fatal kidney disease. Now in 1967, the one kidney was totally destroyed with nephritis or kidney disease. The other kidney had 50% destruction and active nephritis. And in 1967, that was a death sentence. We didn't have kidney transplants. We didn't have dialysis. And the top scientists of the day, the medical doctors, the surgeons, all told me that if we could get the blood toxin level in my body reduced enough so I could sustain a surgery to remove the right kidney, then maybe I would have 6 months to live. And why this story might even matter to your listener is that there might be something going on in your life that seems very big and very powerful and very scary. It might be that you've been single for a long time and you would love the love of your life, or you're concerned about what's going on in your business, or you've wanted to do something you don't think you're ever going to have a chance to do, or you're concerned about a child. There's something in your life that might be seeming big and seeming scary. Well, this was not only big and scary to me, but I believed that, the best I was going to get was 6 months of life. They said if we could get that one kidney removed. Finally, they decided I was strong enough to sustain the surgery, and they scheduled the surgery. And the night before the surgery, a woman walked in my room who today would be called probably a spectacular life coach, but nevertheless a life coach, somebody who helped me look at my life. She walked in and she said she was offering prayer to people who were going to have surgery the next day. I was on her surgery list as a dangerous who was not going to be able to get to everybody who was having surgery, but she said those who are considered the most at risk, I'm going to them tonight to offer them a prayer, and would you like somebody to pray with you? And I was scared, and I said yes. She pulled her chair next to my bed, Ricardo, and she didn't do anything that looked like prayer to me. She simply started to talk to me, and she asked me a question. And she said, would you be willing to tell me what's been going on in your life the last year or two? And so I told her my story. I told her about getting pregnant, about getting kicked out of high school, about going to this high school with the pregnant girls and the delinquent boys, and having graduated from that, and now I have a 7-month-old son who's staying with my parents during the day while his dad works, and his dad's staying at the house to help watch over the little boy. And I'm dying. And so she heard my story, and she listened to all of it. And then she said, so Mary, everything's created twice. And today we would say, I had no landing page for that. It just went, phew. I said, what are you talking about? And she said, you know this. Everybody knows it. So she said, you know this. You just don't know the power of knowing it. The bed you're laying on, the nightgown you're wearing, the sheet covering the walls, the ceiling, the floor, all the machinery that you're hooked up to, first it had to be a thought before it could be a thing. And again, she said, you know this. You don't know the power of knowing it. And then she said, I can hear how much you love your little boy. In your story, I can hear how much you love your little boy. But I can also hear how much you've been hating yourself. You feel like you shamed yourself, and you shamed your school, you shamed your family. Now that you're thinking about how everything's created twice, consider this. You know that if you think embarrassing thoughts, your cheeks get red. And you know that if you think scary enough thoughts, your heart beats faster. Could it be that if you think enough toxic thoughts about yourself that your body is going to become toxic? Could the toxicity that is going through your body and threatening your life perhaps have something to do with the toxicity that's been going through your thoughts? Well, this was something that I had. In 1967, there were no mind-body clinics in the United States. There was no mind-body clinic at Harvard Medical Teaching Center. We did not have the awareness and the understanding that we have today in the world about thoughts and experiences and immune system and our relationship to our thoughts and our experience. So when she said to me, could there be a connection, it was like she might as well have been speaking a language I didn't understand. And then she said, now that you're thinking about how everything's created twice, and I want you to realize you're in a universe of infinite possibilities. That means anything is possible. Could you agree with me that there is a possibility that in the morning, that I'll do a prayer with you, and in the morning when you wake up, the doctors look at you and they say, you look so much better, we better test you. And when they test you, they say, you're well, you can get up and go home, you're fine. Could you believe that's possible? And I told her the truth. The truth was, no, I don't believe that's going to happen. There wasn't one part of me that at that moment could believe that I was going to have an immediate, complete healing like that. It wasn't in my framework. And she said, all right, if you can't believe you could have a complete healing, how about this? Could you believe it's possible? And she said, I want to remind you, there are infinite possibilities. Since there are infinite possibilities, could there be one possibility where through this prayer, we actually sweep up everything that's toxic to your system and place it in that kidney that's going to get removed. And when that kidney gets removed tomorrow in a surgery, instead of you getting worse, you get better. Systematically, over time, you actually get better. Could you believe that's possible? And an interesting thing happened for me in that moment. I didn't really believe it, but I could tell she believed it. I could tell that she actually believed that we could sweep that toxicity up that was killing me, put it in that kidney, get it removed, and that I could get better. And I said to her, well, I don't know if it's probable, but maybe it's possible. And she just latched onto that. This was before we had anything in terms of quantum physics the way we have today, where Talbot out of Stanford University wrote Holographic Universe, where we begin to understand that all we need is one corner of the mind open to a possibility, and you can change your whole life with that. Doesn't mean you will, but it means you can. So she said, that's all we need. One corner of your mind open to the possibility. Let's work with that. And she said some words. I wasn't aware enough at the time to know that she was giving me a framework to follow after the surgery. But she said some words. We imagined all the toxicity going into the kidney that was getting removed. And then she told me, and when you come out of surgery, the first day or two, your mind will be pretty distracted with the pain of the surgery. But as you get better from the surgery, as the pain reduces, your mind is very much like a rubber band. It's going to want to go back and pick up all that shaming thought, all that feeling bad about yourself, that sense that you're being punished for being a bad girl. Here's what I want you to do. Every time your mind wants to pick up that self-loathing, you say, no, that left with the kidney, and then immediately I want you to imagine yourself, because she had asked me if I could live, what would I do with my life? And the first thing I said is, well, I will raise my son and I'll do a good job at it. And she said, well, what would you be doing with your own talent? And I said, well, I'd always wanted to be a teacher. And so she said, and here's what I want you to do. Anytime those old thoughts come up, you say, nope, that left with the kidney. And then immediately imagine yourself, and you've got your son in your hand. You feel his little hand in yours, and he's 5 years old. And you're walking into a school with him. His hand is in your hand. You're feeling happy. He's 5 years old. You're walking him into his kindergarten class. You see a happy teacher. The happy teacher takes his hand in hers or his and steps into the classroom, and then you keep walking down the hallway, and you hear click, click, click of your heels. You round a corner, and you open a door, and that is your classroom, and you are now a teacher. And then imagine, see that, feel that, then imagine that you're sitting in an auditorium or a stadium at a high school graduation, and your son's name is called, and he's in a cap and gown, and he's walking across the stage receiving his diploma, shaking the hand of the principal of the school. You're in the stadium. He's graduating from high school. You're there. Feel your pride for your son, and your teaching career is growing. And then fast forward in your mind to sitting in the front row of your son's wedding, and he's marrying the love of his life, and you're the mother of the groom, and how happy and grateful you are to see your son grow up and find his true love, and your teaching career is flourishing. And she said, every time your mind wants to pick up that old pattern, you'd say, no, that left with the kidney, and you build these 3 images every day, every time. You just do that. I went to sleep. She left, and I went to sleep. The next thing I knew is they were waking me for the surgery, and I remember being surprised because I had not been able to sleep all night no matter how much medication they gave me, because I was in way too much pain. So they woke me up to take me to the surgery, remove the right kidney, told my family that was gathered that one kidney was destroyed with nephritis. The other kidney had 50% nephritis, but it didn't quite look as bad as they thought it might, so maybe I'd have a little bit more time. I did go through a tough bout with the pain after that surgery. In those days, they didn't have nearly the kind of technology we have today. And after 2 weeks, I was able to go home to my parents' house in an ambulance to die. I was told that within a few weeks, things would get much, much worse. I'd be back in the hospital, and I probably would never leave again. I went home, and today we would call me an unconscious competent. I didn't even know the power, of course, of what I was doing, but every time I'd start to get scared about dying with this stuff, or I'd say, no, that left with the kidney, and I'd see myself walking my 5-year-old into a classroom. I'd see myself at a high school graduation. I'd see and feel myself at his wedding. And of course, in the beginning, the first few weeks, I was going into the specialist's office 4 times a week. But my numbers not only stabilized, they just started to slightly improve. And over time, they improved and they improved and they improved and kept improving. Now I was going 3 times a week, and then 2 times a week, and then once a week, and then once every other week. And after about 4 months or so, I'm sitting in the specialist's office along with the surgeon, and they're scratching their heads saying, we have no medical explanation for why nephritis not only stopped progressing in your one kidney, but there seems to be a total reversal. That one kidney is functioning at 100%. We're going to call this a medical anomaly. We have no science for why this happened or how this happened. All we can say to you is, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. I didn't really know what I was doing, but I knew that it was something, because here I was, given a fresh start and a new lease on life, and I was feeling much better. Over time, I would come to have a complete recovery. And during that time, I got busy not only holding those images, but acting on those images. And so if you fast forward from 1967 to today, I spent from 1967 to 1981, I became a student of transformation. I studied it from every which way I could find it, from religion, all the religions, from ancient philosophy, from psychology. I went on and got an undergraduate degree in education and a master's degree in counseling psychology. I attended a seminary. I studied the new science of physics and how we know now that vision and vibration go together. And I began to build a business, and I built a very, very successful transformational business. My first business, and then my second business over the last 12 years has been even more so, and it's global. And because I do the thing that we teach, and Ricardo, I'm so proud of you and happy for you that all the people that you have a chance to impact, that you came not only and heard me speak, but you said she knows something. I want to know what that is, and I want to take that and help the people that I have a chance to impact and help, because everybody wants to live a life where they have freedom. And what I deeply believe, and what you deeply believe, Ricardo, is that every single one of us contain far more potential than we're living from. Every single one of us has a right to live a life we truly love living, and every one of us can live that life when we understand more about who we are and how to apply that to a vision for a life we really would love living, so that we can go where we want to go and do what we want to do and have what we want to have, and even more importantly, give what we really want to give. So I'm so grateful to be on your program today.
Thank you very much, Mary. And one of the amazing things Mary has been talking about right now is that when I start working with Mary, I was so afraid, because I was afraid of my conditions. I was afraid of my story. I was afraid of, well, yeah, but I don't have the money. I don't have this. I don't have the resources. But I was talking to Mary, and the same thing she said in her story when she was praying with this woman. And she said, I believe in her belief. That's what I did at that moment. I believe in Mary's belief, because I saw that she believed in something bigger than I did. So everyone can start doing this, because I see a lot of people that it's all day long saying about their circumstances, saying they can't do something because they don't have the education, they can't do something because they don't know the right people, they can't do something because they don't have the time, they don't have the money, they don't have the health or something. We use a lot of excuses. And well, you know right now how the situation here in Mexico is, how the situation in Latin America right now is. And I think it's worldwide. But right now, well, here in Mexico, we hear all day long about corruption, about politicians, about all the stuff that is going on, about the narcs, everything. Uh, what can you say to the people? Because I see that people, it's like looking for something, but they don't even know what to look. So they can start having more resources in their lives. And we are asking the top experts, and I know that you're the top of the top experts. What can you recommend to the people?
Okay. Thank you. First of all, it's an important question. It's a very, very important question. In human history, throughout human history, there's been corruption. Throughout human history, there's been forces of what we could call destruction, individuals who are seeking power or fame or money through means that are not life-giving, but are actually destructive. And throughout human history, there are individuals who refuse to be controlled, refuse to let the corruption or difficulty keep them from finding what they could do to create a better, freer life. The people who have most impacted our world, who have been the game changers, the people who have innovated, the people who have built businesses, the moms who went ahead and raised great kids, even though they were in cities where there was corruption, the individuals who rose up out of the Depression in the United States, where people were sitting in camps and they had lost their homes and lost their jobs, and most of the United States citizens were sitting waiting for something to happen to them. There were a handful of people who said, I'm not going to wait for good times to build something. I'm going to build something in the time I'm in. And what you're teaching, Ricardo, about how to have a vision for your life, not when circumstances give you permission, but when you have the support. See, most people never get the support to create a great vision. They never get the support to turn inward and say, what would I love? Nobody's asking them, what would you love? People are asking them, how are you going to do that? Where's the money going to come from? Who do you think you are? That's the normal condition-based conversation. And the power, of course, of having a mentor or having someone who believes more in the power in you instead of the power of your conditions is liberating to an individual. It will completely change the whole trajectory of their life. But that's not what most people have. And it has to be something that the individual chooses for. See, that woman could have come to my bed and I could have not chosen to do what she told me to do. She helped me and I chose to follow that and do that. And as people listen to your program, and they're listening right now, I just want to say to you, if you're listening right now, notice that there's a part of you that really does want a life that's greater and freer and fuller than the life you're living. Because the life that's breathing you, you are not breathing yourself. You don't have that power to make your own heart beat. You didn't wake yourself up this morning. There's a power with you. It's called life. And life itself is seeking a freer, fuller, expanded expression of itself by means of itself. That means every single individual, including every blade of grass, is seeking to become a better blade of grass than it has been the day before. The difference between a blade of grass is it doesn't resist growth. But in a human being, we can resist growth. And we can turn our belief to the conditions and we can throw our hands up and just say that's just the way it is. And we live a muted or mediocre version of really who we can be. And there's a handful of people, and I know that your listener is one of those people because they're here and they're listening, that you can tune to that. You can feel that part of you that wants to go forward. You want to put support around that part. Because the voices around you and the voice of the media and the voice of conditions is loud and strong. And in the absence of I would never have been able to do what I did without support and mentors. I would have, even though I recovered physically, I would never have been able to build a work in the world without the support of mentors who believed more in my potential than my problem, believed more in the power breathing me in the circumstances I was at, or the difficulties I was experiencing. And Ricardo, you got yourself to that seminar because you were following the part of you that wanted to grow forward. And you supported that. And you actually had the conversation with me where you told me, I can't because, and I looked at you and I said, I'm not going to make an agreement with that. I'm going to make an agreement with your greatness. But you're going to have to make that agreement. And you said, help me know how to do that. And I gave you some simple steps. But then you did those steps just the way I did the steps that the woman gave me when she came to my bedside. And I've done the steps that mentors tell me. And now, 40 some years later, after teaching and working with thousands and thousands and thousands of people in this laboratory called life, I put that into a code. And you, my friend, have been certified and trained to bring that code to individuals all over Mexico and wherever else anyone is listening from today. And I also want to say something about you, Ricardo. You have a heart for people. You have a way of caring about individuals' results. And I would say if you're listening to this, you want somebody in your life like Ricardo. You want a Ricardo who will be compassionate to your conditions. He's not going to sugarcoat your conditions. He's not going to catastrophize your conditions. But he's going to help you transform your conditions. And if you've got a part of you that wants more freedom and more fulfillment in your love life, in your health, in what you're doing with your talent and your time, when you look at your checkbook and you look at your calendar, if that's a reflection of what you love instead of, oh, how long I get to the end of the month and pay my bills, you have the potential in you to transform that the same way any person who's transformed their problem into opportunity. But I don't know anybody who ever does it alone. They need help to stare down the problem and take the step they can take, and it actually occurs organically and wonderfully when you have support from somebody who understands what real transformation is of, what it takes, and how to do it. And you can believe in their belief and watch how easy it is. You're going down life's highway, you make a 1-degree shift, you choose a mentor, you work with Ricardo. 6 months down the road, 3 months down the road, you're in a whole new place.
That's amazing, and thank you about the things you're telling about me, Mary.
Well, it's true.
Thank you very much. And working with you, when I start working with you, I start realizing all this stuff that you're telling about me, and that's amazing. And some weeks ago that I was on your stage, it was like,
you were
wow,
with me.
yeah, I dreamed about this, and when I dreamed it before, I had no idea how to make it. I had no idea how I was gonna be able to do it, because I know there's a lot of people that wants to go with you on the stage. And at the moment that they called me and they told me, yeah, you're gonna be with her, it was like, okay, I understand right now the process of the how doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes, you teach people to, and so do I, to put the how on hold, but get really clear about the what it is you want.
And that's something amazing. Can you give us some simple steps, those steps you are talking about, some simple steps that people can use when they are feeling like their circumstances are holding them up, and they are listening and they're like, yeah, but you know what? She's really smart. I'm not that. I don't have that ability. I don't have that thing she's talking about. But I know that every single person have it. What can they do when they are feeling like this?
First and foremost, the most important step is to have a vision for what you want your life to really be like. When the woman asked me, if you did live, what would your life be like? And I said, I want to raise my son, a healthy, happy, well-balanced son, and I want to be a teacher. I didn't have all the pictures for all the teaching. I didn't know it would take me to the United Nations 3 times. I didn't know that would take me to Nelson Mandela and His Holiness the Dalai Lama and Martin Luther King's kids. I didn't know all the places that longing to be a teacher would take me, but I went ahead with the vision that I could have at the time. So I would say to your listener, you want to be clear about what you want 3 years from now with your health. And what would your ideal relationships be like? You want a vision for your life. In the absence of a vision, you're always just going to be reacting to circumstances. When you get in your car and you're going someplace, you've got to have the place in mind that you want to end up. Otherwise, you don't know which roads to take. Any road will just take you, could just meander around. Most people just meander around in their life. They spend more time planning a weekend trip than they spend planning their life. And that's why you want a vision, and Ricardo is the ideal person to help you find that and form that. In the absence of a clear blueprint for your life, you're like a ship just being tossed by the winds and the waves of circumstance. Once you have a vision, then Ricardo will take you through a process of showing you how to unpack your potential in service of your vision. One of the things you can do is make an appointment with your fear and your doubt and your worry. Instead of letting fear and doubt and worry are like viruses. If you're not careful, fear, doubt, and worry has access to your thinking anytime it wants to. And once you start noticing what you're noticing, you might notice that you're brushing your teeth and here comes fear right into your bathroom. Or you're crawling into bed and here comes worry saying, I'm going to get in bed with you. Or you're sitting and having dinner and here comes doubt saying, whoa, maybe you want to have a home inside yourself where you choose what thought you're going to think. You choose what the inner state of your life is so you can put it in harmony with the dream you're holding. Everybody has a little fear, doubt, and worry. You don't want to say, I'm never going to have fear, doubt, and worry again. It's unrealistic. There's a part of you that wants to go forward, and there's a part of you that does not want to go forward, doesn't believe you can, believes more in the power of circumstances than your potential. That's why you want a mentor. That's why you want someone who believes more in your potential and will help you when the voice of fear, doubt, and worry gets really loud and convincing based on circumstances. Ricardo's voice was very loud when I stood with him. And at the level of fact, it was right. The dollars weren't there. But it didn't matter. I knew he had potential in him, and I knew the power of breathing him was more than his circumstances. All I did was have the privilege, he gave me the privilege of standing with him and showing him some simple things he could do to unlock that potential right into the form called the cash in his bank, the dollars in his checkbook, so he could do what he wanted to do. And Ricardo will do that for you as well. One of the things we train people to do is if fear, doubt, and worry is crawling through your life at any given moment, and frankly most of the day, you want to sequester it. You want to give it an appointment, like 3 o'clock. Whenever the fear comes in, no, I talk to you at 3 o'clock. And you got to keep your appointment with it, or you'll have no power to keep it at arm's length. And then you write down all the things you fear. You know, I'm afraid I'll lose all my money. I'm afraid it's never going to work out. I'm afraid no one will ever love me. I'm afraid he'll leave me. I'm afraid I'll lose my job. I'm afraid. And you write it all down. And then you ask 2 questions. The first question is he leaving me right now? Did I lose my health right now? Have I lost my job right now? Have I lost all my, whatever the fear is, look at it and ask this question, is it happening right now? Almost always the answer to that is no, it's not happening right now. That's why we call it a worry or a doubt or a fear. It's something that could happen, but it's not happening. Number 2, so it's not happening. Let's become aware of that. It's not happening right now. Number 2, do I want it to happen? No, I don't want it to happen. Then I'm going to give my attention, my energy, away from what I don't want and put it on what I do want. That left with the kidney. I'm walking my little boy into kindergarten. I'm at his high school graduation. I'm at the front row of his wedding. And Ricardo will help you know how to say no to what you don't want and yes to what you do want.
Wow, Mary, this has been amazing. Thank you very much for
the
this
privilege.
message. Thank you for sharing this with all our people that it's looking us right now. And I know that a lot of people was taking some notes. I'm gonna review this a lot of times because every single time that I listen to Mary Morrissey, there are a lot of hidden messages that the first time that you listen it, maybe you don't catch them. But when you check them again, it's like, okay, at what time did she say that before? So listen to this interview sometimes, not only once. Listen it again. And you're going to start listening and you're going to start watching new things in your life. Thank you, Mary. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for being my mentor and teaching me how to help people in such different level.
Thank you, Ricardo. Thank you so much, and thanks for the privilege. And I want to say hello and goodbye to your listeners today. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.